What up, hackers and cybersecurity enthusiasts? Today we're going to be taking a look at something a bit different. We're going to be looking at the economics, pay structures, and hiring practices of FANG companies. And we'll be doing that through the video, The Overdue Collapse of Big Tech Salaries. This is biologically answered, and on his channel he usually breaks down the nefarious business practices, and stuff that's kind of hidden from the job seeker and the every average or everyday average employee. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, see if we can't learn something.
Gone to the moon. Thanks to high profit margins, ubiquitous scale, and seemingly infinite growth potential, there was basically no limit when it came to compensation. It was
Yep.
almost like NFL recruiting or something. Engineers would get offers from multiple top tier companies and have them enter a bidding war against each other. And over time, this has resulted.
Software engineer level 3, 150 base, 30,000 stock, 10,000 bonus for a total of 186,000. This is at Google. Okay.
And entry-level engineers earning nearly $200,000, senior managers crossing $400,000, and directors earning more than $1 million.
So let's go back real quick. The level 3 is earning 186. Have a senior PM, which is a manager, product manager, earning base salary 260,000, 165,000 in stocks vested, and bonus 40,000 for a total of 464,000. That's a lot of money for a product manager. I'll tell you that.
And directors earning
Director earning $1 million, so they're getting 320,000 base salary and $900,000 in stock. The total $100,000 bonus.
more than $1 million per year. And given that these compensation packages often came with a bunch of stock that was growing 5 to 10x, if not more, we saw the
Making
rise of
bank.
a whole new demographic of multimillionaires and decamillionaires.
Hmm.
All of this peaked in 2021 when demand for top tier engineers went through the roof thanks to the pandemic. Tech compensation was growing faster than real estate prices.
Now, the thing about this tech compensation is, of course, if you're earning that much money, it's extremely easy to invest that into other stocks. It's extremely easy to purchase a home, cars, and etc. And everything that you purchase is going to continue to make you money, hopefully, if you have half of a brain when it comes to investing. So obviously, earning 500,000 to $1 million a year is a lot more than the average person. However, software engineers and people like that spend their life on the computer have earned that money for sure. In certain cases, in certain positions, I wouldn't say that a marketing manager needs $500,000 a year, but you know, a product manager. Anyway, who knows?
And at one point, Zuckerberg was even throwing a tantrum about how only half of his top tier job offers were being accepted. But a lot has changed since then, and it seems that this decade of seemingly infinite compensation growth is finally coming to an end. With high interest rates and stagnating revenue growth, tech companies are finally having to shift their focus to maximizing profits. This includes new monetization efforts, layoffs, eliminating unprofitable programs, and of course, cutting salaries.
Mm.
But this wasn't as straightforward as you might think. It's not like Google is suddenly handing out compensation packages that are a good amount lower than usual. This would not only make it hard to recruit new engineers, but it would also earn them a bunch of bad press in the one area that they're still highly respected: strong compensation and a great corporate culture. As such,
Interesting.
these companies have decided to go about salary cuts in a much more nefarious manner, hiding them in the fine print and seemingly pro employee policies. So here's a behind the scenes look of the overdue collapse of big tech salaries.
Uh-oh. Predatory vesting. Let's
To
check
really
this out.
understand how exactly these companies are cutting compensation, we first have to understand how big tech compensation works. For example, if you're a director at Facebook, it's not like you're earning $1.3 million per year cash.
Right.
Rather, only 320,000 of that is paid out in the form of base salary. The vast majority, or nearly $900,000, is paid out in the form of stock compensation. There are some exceptions to this rule, like Netflix, who truly do pay out $1 million cash salaries.
Principal engineer, $1 million, 1.1. These are software engineers. I would hope that the cybersecurity people are getting paid equally, if not more. That would include security engineers, hackers, penetration testers, network security engineers, application security engineers, and etc. We'll have to actually look to see if that's the case, or if they kind of like bundle those positions into these L7 principal engineer and then kind of make you do cyber from there. I'm not too sure, but like I said, we'll have to take a look. But for the people protecting the infrastructure, of billion-dollar companies, I hope that they're paying equally.
But for the most part, a more modest cash salary plus an insane stock package is how big tech compensation usually breaks down. And the recent pay cuts primarily have to do with the stock portion of the compensation. You see, the stock portion isn't exactly what it seems either. It's not like you're consistently paid the stock grant every month just like a cash salary. Rather, the stock grant usually comes in blocks of 4 years and then locks in regular intervals throughout that time period. For example, if an engineer was earning an average of $100,000 per year in stock, then their actual compensation package was probably $400,000 worth of stock over 4 years. And after the 4 years is up, they might get refreshers or they might need to get promoted in order to get another 4 year grant.
See, this guy
Now,
goes deep. That's why I like this channel.
all of that might seem like too many details, but it's important because, like I said, the catch is in the fine print. The industry
The
standard
devil is always in the details, boys.
is for stock grants to unlock in a consistent manner throughout the vesting period at 25% per year. Anything else is sus, and there's usually more going on than what meets the eye. Amazon, for example, is notorious for sporting an extremely skewed vesting schedule. In year one, only 5%.
Bruh, this is a scam. 5%? This is what bums offer. 15, 40, 40. And this is probably so they can fire you within this first 2 years here and not have to actually pay the full amount. It's a scammy business practice.
Of the stock grant unlocks, and in year two, only 15% unlocks. It's not till year three and four that you receive 80% of your stock grant. Why do they do this, you ask? Well, Amazon knows that
Here's how long employees are staying at the top 10 biggest company. 2 years, 2 years, not even 2 years. You're not even staying long enough to get the stock. So like the money that they're offering isn't even real. It's horrible. It's a sham.
the average employee doesn't even last 2 years, meaning that they likely won't even unlock their 15% for year two. So, when hiring, Amazon is able to pitch a $400,000 stock grant as an average of $100,000 per year in compensation.
And never pay it.
But the average employee only ends up unlocking 5% of that, or 20,000, saving Amazon a bunch of money in terms of stock compensation. Coming from Amazon, that's probably not all that surprising,
Definitely
but
not
backdoor stock
surprising.
vesting is just one trick in the book. Another trick that companies use is annual vesting, like is the case with Stripe. Instead of receiving a 4 year grant that unlocks over time, Stripe likes to hand out a new one.
Whoa, vested in 1 year. Yeah, this is horrible for compounding interest. Dude, you're getting the stock at a different price each year. You're not really earning really any money. This is not good.
Year grant every year, which makes it much harder for employee stock comp to compound with the company. For example, if you are earning $100,000 per year in stock and your company triples over the next 4 years, then you'd usually be earning $300,000 in the fourth year. At Stripe, however, you'd still be earning 100,000 despite potentially playing a crucial role in helping the company triple. These sort of vesting shenanigans
It's almost like you need a lawyer to help you sign a job offer nowadays.
have always been common throughout the tech industry. But recently, we saw Google stoop to this tier as well with their own trick.
Oh no. Front-loaded vesting. Now, I will say the one thing that some of these C-suite executives do not appreciate is you being on the same playing field. When you're equipped with knowledge, of course, knowledge is power, and then it's hard to take advantage of you. Very interesting things.
In
You
20,
can't just show up and do the job, get paid the money. There always has to be some other bullshit, right?
2021, Google adopted a new front-loaded vesting schedule, which consisted of 33% in the first 2 years, 22% in the third year, and 12% in the fourth year. At first glance, it seems like this vesting schedule is actually more generous. They're giving employees more of the stock grant up front, but don't be fooled, that's by design. You see, if the overall stock grant stayed consistent, this would indeed be a superior vesting plan. But that's not quite what Google is doing. Rather, they're using front-loaded vesting to inflate their first-year compensation numbers. For example, if you're a potential L6 hire at Google, they might tell you this. We'll pay you industry standard first-year comp of 250 cash, 250.
This is for a software engineer. 250,000 salary, 250,000 stock, 50,000 bonus for a total of about 545,000. Hopefully they have like some cybersecurity roles that are in the same range.
Stock and 50 bonus. Now, that sounds about right, but the catch is in the total stock grant. Before, the 250 stock that you would earn in your first year was only a quarter of the total stock you would receive, aka you would earn a total of $1 million in stock over the next 4 years. But now, the 250 stock that you earn in your first year is a third of your total stock comp, aka you now only earn 750 in stock over the next 4 years, and Google saves a full quarter million.
Not
And
good.
that was just with their original front-loaded vesting plan. Since then, Google has become even more aggressive with their front-loaded vesting. Their current main vesting plan is
Oh,
38% in the
this
first
is
year,
atrocious.
32% in the second year, 20% in the third year.
To anybody with a brain, here's the thing. Like, when you try to outsmart the people that are smarter than you, right? Now you're talking about paying engineers less than they're worth. These people sit around all day and solve problems. The transparency of the internet and the chivalry. No, I wouldn't even say chivalry. That's not even the right word, bro. The transparency with the internet and the shrewdness of the executives does not align.
Year and 10% in the fourth year. Again, if you are an L6 engineer, this means that instead of earning $1 million over 4 years, you would now only earn 657,000. And it doesn't stop right there either. Google has an even more aggressive front-loaded plan as well. In this vesting schedule, you get 50% in the first
Oh
year,
my God.
28% in the second year, 12% in the third year, and 10% in the fourth year. AKA, instead of earning a million in stock, you're now down to half a million. And Google has effectively saved on nearly a full
This should be considered a crime. This is literally robbery. It's-
year of compensation that they would have previously paid out. Obviously, quite a bit of savings, but all of that only tells half the story. One of the main benefits of stock compensation is that it can enjoy outsized returns as the company grows. But as big tech approaches maturity, the expected returns on stock comp also becomes a lot lower due to diminishing returns. For obvious reasons, it's much easier to go from being a $250 billion company to a $1 trillion company than it is to go from 1 trillion to 4 trillion, and this plays a huge role in total comp. If you joined Google in 2017, for
Look at
example,
that,
you saw Google
boy.
stock over triple. Meaning that the $1 million stock grant that you got when you joined was actually worth $3 million by the time that it fully unlocked. If you joined Google in 2021,
And
however,
of course, if you took that 3 million now and then put it back into the market, you're gonna have some fantastic returns. You're not gonna have Nancy Pelosi kind of returns, but you'll be on your way.
you were actually down as much as 45% on your stock.
I would like to say that she's better at investing than Warren Buffett, you know. So I'll just leave that there.
But let's even assume that Google ends up fully recovering and growing by 50% over the next 2 years. This would be phenomenal for a mature company like Google, but the same cannot be said about your comp. Your now half as large stock grant of $500,000 will only end up being 750 at the end of 4 years.
Highway
In other
robbery.
words, it's 3 to 4 times less lucrative to join Google today than it was just a couple of years ago. And all of that is assuming that you're able to get the same first year comp. It turns out that that itself would probably be quite challenging.
Uh-oh.
Everything that we've talked about so far are shadow cuts, things that aren't really apparent unless you look at the fine print.
Right.
But the truth is that big tech has had upfront salary cuts as well. Think of remote work. Big tech has not only had an opportunity to pay less for office space, but pay employees less as well. In fact, Google directly cut salaries of remote workers by as much as
Ooh, this
25%.
is fine though. I don't see too much of a problem with this. If there's a compromise to be made, sure, I'll take less pay to work remotely, right? You can't get it all. Maybe this could be like 10% though. You know, one quarter is kind of ridiculous, bro. That is a lot of money, dude.
Now, this isn't as bad as it sounds because these cuts were in line with employees moving to lower cost of living cities.
That does not matter. You pay what you pay. You don't worry about micromanaging where the employee lives or works remotely, claiming it's more secure, yada, yada, yada. Like, we don't have VPNs and DMZs and all sorts of, security and network infrastructure to allow you to actually work remotely and be secure while doing so.
But this is nonetheless massive salary savings for Google. Big tech in general has started focusing their hiring efforts on lower cost of living areas within the US and offshoring many more jobs and sectors. Google
Yeah, that offshoring is becoming a real apparent issue. From a cybersecurity perspective, if you continue to hire people that, aren't in the United States or necessarily don't have incentive to want to stay in the United States, whether that be family or etc., you're creating problems, right? You're creating security risks. And then, of course, what are the rest of the citizens supposed
has
to
also
do?
cut
This is kind of why there's a huge problem with finding employment in tech as we speak.
a bunch of employee benefits and even gone as far as tracking employee badges to maximize productivity. I've been picking on Google for most of this video, but that's just because they're the most notable example. These same practices have become commonplace across all of tech. And if you were to confront these companies about any of this, they'd probably have a couple of counterpoints. They might say that the overall stock grant doesn't decrease by as much as the vesting schedule might suggest. For example, 50% vesting in the first year would suggest a stock comp cut of as much as 50%, but the real number might actually only be 20 or 30%. They would probably also bring up a point about how they hand out stock refreshers in year 3 and 4 that could help make up for any decreases in total comp. But regardless of how exactly they justify it, it doesn't really change the fact that working in big tech isn't nearly as lucrative as it once used to be. Back then, your total stock comp wouldn't have been 20 to 30% less. You would have still gotten the same refreshers in year 3 and 4. You wouldn't be facing salary cuts due to remote work, and the stock would have had substantially more upside potential. When you put all of these factors together, you'll see that joining FANG today could easily be 50 to 70% less lucrative than it was in the 2010s,
Mm.
not even accounting for inflation. With that being said, though, it's not like tech workers are doing bad per se. Instead of a staff engineer earning $4 million over 4 years, they might now earn 1.5 to 2 million, which is indeed substantially less. But that's still an insane amount of compensation that's a lot higher than you could earn anywhere else.
This is
So
very
I'm not
true.
exactly suggesting that you feel bad for
Some of these companies nowadays that aren't FANG, if you look at these FANG salaries, they're not necessarily aligned with some of the other companies, just to put it simply.
engineers, but it does bring up the question of where exactly does this leave big tech? Well, all of these cost saving measures are only now going into place, so expect it to take 4 to 5 years for all of the results to come in. But it's likely that the operating profit per employee at these companies will go up substantially. This will also be in line with these companies honing in on their final push for monetization, so bottom line should go up quite nicely across the board. But that should be pretty much it, as that would result in these companies fully maturing. they've spent the last 20 years on pure growth, which is now very much starting to slow down.
Hmm.
So the logical move is to focus on maximum profitability and reach their final form and become the next Cisco or IBM or Intel. In the meantime, we'll likely see the best employees at all of these companies leave in droves, not even because of the lower comp, but because of the work itself. Moving forward, their jobs will be more about increasing efficiencies and reducing overhead as opposed to building the next big thing. So it's only natural that the aspirational types move on to smaller companies where they can not only earn a lot more, but do a lot more. And that is the state of big tech compensation today. All of this is rather new for Fang, but it's already been playing out in Europe for quite some time. Check out this video to learn more, but until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys.